Welcome to our 5-minute takeaway sessions presented by the Guild of Letting and Management. My name is Susie Crolla. I'm Managing Director of the Guild of Letting and Management. Our takeaway session today focuses on why compliance is so important. In business in general, it's important to have a very, very strong foundation when it comes to conducting due diligence, to making sure that every element of the business is compliant. So this sits really nicely alongside the introduction of new legislation, primarily because what we don't want to happen is make errors, make mistakes, and then end up in a situation that is very, very difficult and costly to unravel. So that takes us really nicely into takeaway number 1, avoiding costly mistakes. Now, it's important to understand that compliance failures can not only lead to financial penalties, and if we think about the proposed new enforcement for the Renters' Rights Bill, that could be extremely expensive for a letting agent or for a landlord. The other thing that we need to bear in mind is that it really does impact the client base. So what happens if errors occur? And it could be something very basic, like the incorrect service of a notice, that could cause reputational damage and then impact the client to such an extent that the client could leave. So we could end up losing clients. And the other element that it's important to bear in mind is that through losing clients lose trust in our ability to do a job. So we need to avoid those mistakes and have a really good understanding of what the key risks are when we're talking about implementing new legislation, and also how to mitigate these risks. The second takeaway is to build trust when we're working with landlords, if you are a letting agent or a property manager, and also to build trust with tenants. Do not forget that tenants are our clients as well in some shape or form. So it's important to understand that they have requirements and that we need to deal with them in the way that we would a landlord. So a compliant agency means that the agency is a reliable one. The customer base feels comfortable, they have a really good understanding that the agency cares, that the landlord cares, and therefore that leads to the fact that learning how compliance enhances your agency's credibility will mean that you can not only offer a higher level of service, but also attract a higher quality of client. Takeaway number 3 is the competitive advantage, the competitive edge. We often hear comments being made about competing agents, competing landlords. But one thing that is extremely important is that you focus on what is going on within your agency and your property business, rather than continuously focusing on what is going on outside your business. So you need to use the compliance element as a USP, your unique selling point. What does this do for you and for your agency, for your team? Is that it demonstrates this expertise in legal obligations, and that means that your agency can stand out in a very, very crowded market. Okay, so that's very, very important to bear in mind. Now, if you've listened to some of our previous sessions, takeaway number 4 is something that we probably continuously repeat over the sessions, and that's keeping up with regulatory change. What does this mean? Now, if we think about where we are today, 1925 was when we saw one of the most significant pieces of legislation, property legislation, appear. That's 100 years ago. So we have a huge resource archive of legislation that is constantly evolving and changing, and that means you really do need to stay ahead of the curve, and you stay ahead by learning best practices in order to future-proof your agency. And then takeaway number 5 is actually where we fit in. This is the fact that the Guild of Letting and Management, or GLM for short, acts as your partner in terms of this ongoing process that relates to compliance. One of the key elements of the business that we run is to ensure that our clients are protected. So we leverage our expertise, our resources, to support and ensure that you and your agency remain compliant and successful. Thank you for listening to today's session. For further information on the services we offer, head over to our website and subscribe to our channel. I look forward to seeing you next time.